How the hell is everybody doing? Man Cave Sports with our weekly Timberwolves program, Hungry Like the Wolves, second edition. Good to see our buddy Brett back after a 2 week absence. I know Brett, you were in Dallas last week. How did that whole thing go while you were out in Dallas? Obviously, they won the game.
Amazing. I got a buddy that sets aside a couple of his courtside seats in Dallas for me whenever the Wolves come. So get down there. We did win. We held on. As far as my ability to analyze that game, I did have access to the Angels Envy Club too. So free drinks all night. So I was more in fan mode than analytical mode. But hey, man, we won the game. I know that much. I had to check in the morning to make sure that I remembered everything correctly. But great time, man.
Oh
Beautiful.
no,
Nice.
good to hear. And tonight, we just a lot of us just got home. Steve and I were coaching, literally just got in the door. But Timberwolves are down 59-55 against the Suns. Naz Reid is out. I was able to watch some of the second quarter. I was following via the ESPN app during our Suns basketball scrimmage. But interesting lineup tonight. Obviously, Naz Reid being out, Dillingham was sick but is in. But Luka Garza got first quarter run, and we saw the first relevant minutes in the career of Jalen Clark. So some interesting stuff going on. They were getting smoked for a little bit there, but they closed out the half pretty good. I saw Na got on a heater as well. So real quickly, and I'll start with you, Brett. What do you think of the last week? Obviously, they're coming off of 3 wins. The game you were at, very impressive win against the Nuggets, and a lackluster game, but a win nonetheless against the Hawks the other night.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't like anything that I saw in the second half against the Hawks. I don't think any of us would say that we did. Don't want to dwell on that too much. I mean, he had a gorgeous win against the Nuggets, which I think was kind of the first time this year that I felt like we were able to win a game where it didn't feel like it was the hardest thing on earth to do, right? Like every point was like the hardest thing to come by. We had to work our ass off to get everything that we put on the board on the board. That was like the first seamless, like humming game. So I don't want like that to be lost in the dismay of the second half of the Hawks game, which we did win. We won that game, so I
Yeah.
can get over. It was just kind of another one of those dumb sequences where we get caught up in what they call a blacktop ball, right?
Yeah.
Or fitness ball, and we were able to dodge a bullet there and get out of there with a win. We probably wouldn't have beaten a lot of other teams. We probably might not have even beaten the Hawks if they had full strength.
Yep.
But and then again tonight, I mean, it's tough to really make a real critique of what I'm seeing, just because I mean I think it's the shots just haven't been falling tonight. We closed out the half much better than we started the half. I think just a couple other bounces going our way, we could be easily be winning this game. Only down two right now. Disappointing to see Ant with like three straight turnovers at around the 2 minute mark there.
Yeah.
That I think we were down two, and then we went back to down seven, then we got it back up to two. Na was able to bank one in and then follow up with a nice crisp three after that. So good to see his 3 point numbers getting up. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. But as is usually the case with this team, I don't know 100% what to think or what not to think. But that's the experience of a Timberwolves fan. So send it back to you guys.
Yeah, and one interesting note, and Ant, I saw his post game, the Monday night win over the Hawks. He did say Finch gave him an expletive laced ass chewing, probably deservedly so, which isn't his style. So I'm sure he saw enough out of that to try to wake them up. Steve, what's your takeaway from the last week here of Timberwolves action?
I think this last week has been so indicative of just who the Timberwolves are this season. It really is. You take a look at what we've been doing. Like they smoked the Nuggets. Apparently, we bring the Nuggets home. We tuck them in at night. We make sure they get rides to school because they're our little boy, and we're going to take care of them. And it's okay, son. I'll take care of you. I don't know why we can smoke them, and they didn't have like real big deficiencies. People out of the lineup. We just played up to our full potential. Beating the Mavericks by one, we held on. That again, I think we played down a little bit tonight. Mixed bag. Julius Randle's a -13 or whatever. The Hawks. I'd much rather be mad about a win than a loss. So, I mean, that's okay. But the Grizzlies, we should have won. That one was ridiculous. We pooped it away at the end. The Cavaliers, we played neck and neck with basically the best team in the NBA, right? You can argue OKC versus the Cavs, but and we talked about that a little bit before. But when I'm looking back here, it's so indicative of just who we are as a team. We can play with anybody and we can lose to anybody, right? So that's kind of our identity right now. We're just gonna have to embrace the roller coaster, and see where we end up. But that win against the Nuggets, man, that just felt good. That's like beating the Packers. It's like it just feels good to beat those guys. I don't know. I'm gonna throw it to Mr. Naughton.
Howdy, Mr. Steve. How you doing today? Yeah, the last three games. I mean, obviously the big thing is those Nuggets, man. It's so nice to see Rudy actually playing great. I know I'm a Rudy Bobo. I know I bring him up an awful lot, but when he's playing and he's involved, he offensively and defensively, I think we're just. I mean, we're dang hard to beat. And the Memphis game, as Steve brought up, that's a game that just from the start, it was on MLK Day in Memphis on national TV. Yeah, there was no way that Adam Silver was going to let us get out of that with the win, anyways. But
why are we rehashing last week's show, guys? Come on, get it moving.
but anyways, tonight is great. As Mr. Razor did say, Jalen Clark out of UCLA is out there and playing on some rubber knees. But you got to love it. Nice to see Garza get some early run. It's kind of weird whenever we play the Suns or a team built like the Suns. Our 4 and 5 just kind of seem to disappear. Obviously, we missed the Naz man, but hey, let's see what happens here the rest of the way. Michael.
Razor, your thoughts on the last week?
I'll make it quick because it is halftime, and I know we want to make it back to watch the rest of the game. But team's still frustrating. It's nice to see 3 straight wins, but 2 of them were against shorthanded teams in the Mavs, and the Hawks and the Wolves kind of played down. Well, not kind of. They definitely played down to the level of their competition. But the good news was they were able to pull those games out. And I mean, I think they were leading by 8-12 for most of the games. And while it was kind of nerve-wracking, I still felt like they were going to come out ahead in those games. But damn it, that Denver win was huge. And hopefully they could keep the good vibes going. And at least now when they're kind of pulling these like no-show efforts or these no-show focus games, they're pulling out the wins. So I will stay positive and say, hey, it's good to see them +4 in the win column right now. And I think they're right in the thick of the playoff hunt. And kudos to Jalen Clark. Came in and gave them a lift. I don't know what his stat line is, but it seemed like overall the team started playing better when he got in the game against Phoenix. Mike.
Yeah, no doubt. And that kind of brings us right to the next topic. We, for lack of time, we could sit and talk about Jimmy Butler and the trade that everybody in the NBA is waiting for, which probably is going to involve a minimum of 3 teams, maybe up to 4 or 5, and is going to basically dictate how the trade deadline goes. Everybody's sitting around waiting for that trade to happen, and then I think we'll see how the chips fall. Obviously, there's one Timberwolf that is constantly brought up in trade discussions, and that's Julius Randle. We've talked about it on this show. I'm just going to go around the horn and ask you guys what you think the odds are, and if so, what kind of deal does it look like? Brett, go ahead.
Yeah, you see like conflicting reports from like Johnny K and like the beat writers around town. I just don't think that anybody knows what Tim Connolly has up his sleeve until he unveils that card. I think he's just one of those GMs that you can speculate all day, but you're not going to know what he's cooking until that deadline hits. Gun to my head, I think Julius is going to get traded. I've felt that way since the day that we received Julius. I felt that he's going to get traded. Still don't think it's going to be for anything sexy, which I think is the entire point. It's a salary dump. It was a more manageable salary dump than Cat ever was. I think, like now with like the De'Aaron Fox thing kind of bubbling to the surface, there's another team that may be interested in what you could sell to them as like a win now guy in Julius, right? Like you're not completely and mailing it in. You're getting a former All-NBA player. Maybe Sacramento would be interested in that. I think Miami has certainly been mentioned as a team like that. Not that Jimmy is coming here, but maybe like Mike, you mentioned 3, 4 teams are going to be involved in that. We can help facilitate that maybe. And there's little nuggets in there on expiring deals, like maybe a Kevin Herter. Well, he's got a couple of years left on his deal, but Kevin Herter would be a nice little piece inexpensively. I think Duncan Robinson. I mean, Lonzo Ball is a guy in Chicago who maybe they jump in on some of this action. Expiring though, like I said, it's a set.
We want to keep those balls in Chicago.
I want to keep on Nas and whatever. If I have to trade Julius for nothing to do that, I'll do it. That's not dumping on Julius. He's a good player. He has worth, but to me, it's about keeping those two around, and that's what it's always been about. And I hope that Connolly finds a way to keep that what it's about at the deadline. But that's my hope. It's my thought. Send it back to you guys.
Mr. Steve, your thoughts on Julius and if he's going to be a Wolf here in 2 weeks?
Yeah, Julius seems like a really nice guy, so I hate, sometimes getting on people. He was dapping up, I think, his son on the sidelines the other night during the game, on Monday night. And, which shout out to my daughter for getting us some cool footage from the game. That was some cool stuff. But she got a bunch more stuff too, but some of it she sent us like the Wolves were just like dribbling it off their foot or something. She's like, man, I kept trying to get you more stuff, but it kept selling. But anyways, I think Julius Randle, I think he does get traded. I'd like to see us pick up a piece that I'd like to see us get another actual big, an actual, somebody that can compete with Lively and Gordon down there in Dallas, somebody that can, along those lines. It'd be great if we get, not those guys specifically, but a similar piece like that. I think we got enough guards and enough shooters. And, if we're going to keep Jaden around and we're invested in him, then, just realize that the defense is why we got him here and let's just go with it. So I think he gets dealt. And my preference is that we get somebody that's, a little more active, a little bit bigger, more impact guy than Rudy. So that's my thought. Nadi.
I'm not a big sticky fingers guy. I liked our vibe last year. And we've all been on him, man. I mean, everybody's been on it, that he doesn't fit the bill, and he's basically going to be traded right after that trade is made. But I'm going to go out on a limb and say that to us, the Timberwolves, I think Julius means more to us than anybody else. I think him and Finchie's background. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Jules stays here, but as Mr. Brett said, you never know what's up TC's sleeve. But my inkling is that he's going to still be here in a couple weeks. Razor.
At this very moment, I am going to agree with the Naughty, and I think he's going to be here in a couple of weeks. About 5 hours ago, I was saying he'd be traded for sure. 5 hours from now, if I'm still awake, I'll probably be thinking he'll be traded as well. I kind of think they might make a move on the margins, maybe, but you just never know. As Brett said, with Tim Conley, we didn't see the Rudy Gobert trade coming. The D'Lo trade, did we see that coming? Maybe a little more, but we didn't see the Dillingham trade coming, and we sure as heck didn't see the Randall trade coming either. So you just never know with this front office. They keep things close to the vest. But if I had to guess, I'm going to say he is on the team in 2 weeks, but will probably be traded by draft night. Mike.
Yeah, if I'm a betting man, I'm going to bet against it. I will say this. There's a couple of things, a lot of weird dynamics in this. Zach LaVine, where he's going to end up, because everybody's pretty sure he's going to get traded, and he might be part of a Butler trade. I read reports yesterday where they said Bradley Beal refused a trade to Chicago, which is within his contract rights. So there's a lot of elements going on in this. I will say the one the player whose name is out there now that really intrigues me is De'Aaron Fox. If some part of a swap with Julius got us De'Aaron Fox, I'd be very interested in it. I like his game. Not saying that's going to happen. It's speculation. There's a lot of shit out there on the internet right now, as being Nutty knows, because he sent me some yesterday. Anyways, and by the way, K-Fan is not a good place to get your Timberwolves info, unless Johnny Athletic's on there. Anyhow, with that, because the game started up, we're down 64-58, just 2 minutes in. I'm going to go one more quick thing around the horn. Nikhil the other night, when he was limping off the court and being helped off, I thought he might be down for a while. Ramon, you and I were talking about what a bad spot that would put them in if him and Dante were out. But obviously, he's out there playing tonight. He hit a couple of threes. He looks good. Start with you, Brett. Injuries. Is there any major concern? I know TSJ we're waiting on. Nas just sounds like he's got a case of the flu or the shits. I don't know. But are we concerned about any of these injuries right now that seems like we haven't had much of this year, but lately we've been a little dinged up.
Yeah, all in all, it's been a pretty healthy season, which I mean, it kind of sucks to think about what our record is, and then acknowledging the fact that we can't really pin that on injuries too much, but is what it is. I think the DiVincenzo thing really sucks because he was had a shaky start to the year. It's been really coming around, so it sucks without him. I think a silver lining though is some of what you're seeing tonight. You're seeing some Jalen Clark minutes. You're getting to see Finch tinker a little bit and pull some levers. There was another really cool lineup. The Jalen Clark lineup was really cool because it was like Jaden and Na were out there with him and Rudy, and it was like this defensive master lineup. But there's another like interesting lineup. I think it was Dillingham, Conley, Na, and Rudy. It was like 4 guards and Rudy. And it's like you probably wouldn't see that lineup unless there was unless we had a starter out to injury. So just kind of seeing some of that experimental stuff. And that was only out there for like probably a minute or two, but just kind of cool to I guess the silver lining of injuries is you get to see some other guys get their moments. Tonight, Jalen Clark being one of them, and Dillingham being a guy that benefited off of that prior to this. So I don't know. Just silver lining is guys are going to get their shot, but overall, I think we've been pretty healthy, and I think sounds like DiVincenzo will be back at some point sooner than later. So not too concerned over here on the injury front, but let's see what you guys think.
Yeah, Mr. Steven. It looks like Dante's out probably at least 4 weeks, maybe up to 2 months, but it looks like he should be back for the stretch run and playoffs, hopefully. Mr. Steve.
Yeah, I think we've been pretty lucky with most of the injuries. I think the one thing that is unfortunate with there's 2 injuries, obviously Dante and then Rob Dillingham, because he was getting cooking there for a little bit earlier, and then he tweaked that ankle and he was out for a little bit, and I think he kind of fell out. He kind of fell out of spotlight a little bit, and he kind of had to earn and work his way back in. He went down to the G League, had to come back up. So it's like
Jaden cuts it to 2.
What's that now?
Jaden just cut it to 2, 68-66. Jaden with a 3.
Nice. I'll wrap it up here. So I think the timing of the injuries has been kind of more the thing is, DiVincenzo was getting rolling and then he got hurt, and Dillingham was really getting cooking and then he got hurt. So it kind of sucks that they got injured and now they got to work they got to work back into, kind of the heater that they both were on for both of their respective performances that we got. But otherwise, I think if whatever, I don't know who's passing what around in that locker room. Everybody's been sick lately, but they need to hose the place with hand sanitizer and, disinfect before they even see each other. But I'll shut up. Naughton, what do you got?
Well, as you guys all said, it's been a pretty decent year for our injury. I mean, Dante with the great toe. I think that's how they're describing it. That was really tough just because he was coming on. I mean, he was getting settled in. He just got traded right before training camp, and he was really starting to thrive there. If that's going to be all we're going to have to deal with, having Dante and his great toe back here in about, you never know. It's basketball with bad toe. If that's going to be the worst that's going to happen, I think we're going to be pretty lucky. Got off lucky with the Noth thing. Just knocking on wood. Let's go. Razor.
Yeah, sucks about Dante. It sounded pretty bad at the beginning, like that he was probably going to be out for the year, but it seems like the thoughts are that there's a pretty good chance he's going to be coming back soon. I think he's going to be reevaluated in a week or so, so we shall see in that regard. Nas injury looked a little scary. I thought maybe he did something to his Achilles, but thankfully, he wasn't even on the injury report as of this morning. So, and he looks pretty good, banking threes and all that. But opportunity for the young guys, as Brett said. Dillingham is going to continue to get more minutes, which was not always a given. It is too bad, though, that Terrence Shannon is injured as well, because I really would have liked to have seen him maybe get a chance at some of these minutes. Because unfortunately, Minot's my guy, but I mean, he got about a 5-second stint today because he, I think, fell asleep on defense. And then I'm thinking the last game, he blew 2 pretty easy layups. So he seems to be kind of regressing a little bit. So it would have been nice to see TSJ get a chance, but maybe we'll see that later in the season. I will end it because the Wolves are in a 2-point game right now. Mike.
Yeah. Great call. It just went to a commercial break, 70-68, and just had a nice feed to Rudy for the stuff. So we got ourselves a game, gentlemen. I appreciate you guys getting together, obviously on short notice and during the halftime here, especially with everybody's busy schedule. And that is a wrap for Hungry Like the Wolves. We will see you guys again next week. Go Wolves. Appreciate it, gentlemen.
Hi, guys.